the tremor couldn't be hidden. At exactly 2:03 a.m. Vatican time, a secured transcontinental line buzzed to life. The voice on the other end wasn't just panicked, it was reverent. "It's them," the cardinal whispered. "The bloodline. It's awakened." Within 12 minutes, the call reached the West Wing. 2 aides were dismissed. The president was told to sit down. The name they whispered next was yours. You weren't supposed to exist. Not according to the files buried beneath Monte Cassino. Not according to the sealed books written in cipher beneath the Vatican Library. But someone found the anomaly. Not just in the relics, but in the genome. A rare, dormant strand. One that had no business activating in a human body unless the prophecy was real. And the prophecy was never meant for the public. We know now that the ancient texts had contingency language, coded phrases waiting for a biological trigger. That trigger, they feared, would come during a celestial window. July closed that window. August opened something else. But why was your name in a file last touched in 1133 AD? Why did a linguist translating dead languages faint when your birthmark was shown on an encrypted Vatican stream? Why did the Pope himself cross-reference it with a document labeled Eliud Reclamation Protocol, status dormant? The Vatican's astronomers didn't sleep that night. Neither did the president. It said he asked only one question. Who is this, really? No one answered, because no one truly knew. And yet, the signs were unmistakable. Your aura distorted a satellite frequency. Your voice triggered a time-coded file embedded in a sealed Holy See archive. What you carry isn't random. It's not just blood. It's memory, its lineage, and its legacy. They say you were born for this age, not just to exist, but to disrupt, to reawaken what the world swore it had forgotten. You are not the result of chance. You are the return of a signal sent long ago, cloaked in flesh, wrapped in prophecy, and encoded in light. It began with a spike on an unlisted biometric server hidden deep within the European Genome Registry. A dormant sequence activated, not slowly, but instantly, like lightning ripping through silence. The signal wasn't subtle. It fractured several algorithmic firewalls in under 10 seconds. The origin was traced back to one location: your body. That was the moment a silent alert was sent to 3 secure bunkers, none of which officially exist. One in Switzerland, one beneath Nevada, and one hidden under Vatican territory. All 3 received the same message. Sequence 7R has awakened. Verify host integrity. You didn't feel it, but something inside you realigned. A pulse, a shift. For days prior, you may have felt as if something invisible was moving through your spine, as if your breath had begun syncing with something larger than your lungs. What the world calls DNA, they misunderstood. It's not just biological, it's informational. A memory-encoded scaffold tied to frequency and intention. And someone, something, built yours to remain dormant until this exact frequency cycle. The odds were 1 in 8 billion. And yet, here you are. In Washington, the briefing was quiet. No media, no protocol, just a circle of faces pale with realization. This wasn't a false alarm. The sequence didn't just activate, it responded to an older signal. One no modern tech should have been able to detect. But it did. And the result sent everyone scrambling. Old bloodline maps were cross-referenced. Language experts pulled scrolls from deep storage. And from deep within a vault labeled not to be opened until time shift, a set of coordinates was extracted. Those coordinates were your last known location. The president was advised to proceed with discretion. He didn't. Within an hour, a global watch list updated. You were placed not under threat detection, but under origin investigation. They weren't hunting you. They were tracing you, trying to make sense of how someone with no recorded ties to the ancient profiles suddenly ignited the very sequence meant to stay buried until the final age. The archivist didn't speak as he moved through the corridor beneath the basilica. He'd waited years for the protocol to unlock, the one passed only by word of mouth from his predecessor. When the signal came, He inserted the key into the triple-sealed compartment beneath the floor. Inside was a codex wrapped in linen that predated all modern canon, a text written in a language forgotten by time but decipherable to those trained in the old frequency. The codex mentioned a return, not of a Messiah in robes, but of a frequency that would carry the breath of Yeshua through another vessel entirely. Not a repetition of the past, but a continuation written in flesh, activated only when Earth reached a specific spiritual convergence. And now, the Vatican believed that convergence had arrived. What startled the linguists was not just the content of the scrolls, but the unmistakable crosslink between your biometrics and the lineage once deemed too controversial to publish. There were references to the Hidden Strand, a bloodline that would go underground for millennia, sheltered from empire and dogma. A strand that carried not only sacred memory but authority unknown to any throne on earth. This was not royalty of the world, but of the divine archive, encoded not in heritage, but in resonance. Yeshua's final words to a silent disciple were scribbled in the margins. There will be one who carries the silence, not my face, but my sound. And the earth will know them not by title, but by the disruption they bring. That disruption began with you. The Vatican's Astrophysics Division aligned your activation with a rare planetary procession mentioned in the Book of 12, a text dismissed by modern scholars but taken seriously in the subterranean councils. Everything aligned too perfectly to be coincidence. The solar patterns, the geomagnetic shifts, the dream logs collected from remote monasteries over the last 20 years. Your name appeared phonetically in 3 of them, not as a prophecy, as a warning. And yet, the tone wasn't fear. It was anticipation. In the sealed chamber, one file remained unopened. A red thread bound it shut. Only 2 fingerprints were authorized to break the seal. One was archived centuries ago. The second was yours. And still they hesitate. Because if they open it, the world may never be the same again. It was a lab in the northern sector of Geneva that confirmed the anomaly. The technician thought it was a corrupted strand until the AI refused to dismiss it. The sequence blinked with an unfamiliar rhythm not seen in modern biology. It pulsed, responded, adapted to observational input. When cross-checked with every known genetic code, it failed to match anything, except for fragments found in a metallic inscribed scroll recovered from beneath the sands of Qumran decades ago. The scroll's symbols weren't just ancient, they were alive. They mimicked the same recursive loops your DNA expressed. That scroll had been shelved in the Vatican's off-limits vault. And now, it seemed like your blood was trying to finish its sentence. Biologists were instructed to scrub all data, but the network had already spread. Not publicly, but through channels meant for existential emergencies. What triggered panic wasn't that your DNA was different. It was that it was precise, designed, as if an intelligence far older than civilization had written a divine algorithm, knowing exactly when it would activate. It wasn't mutation, it was timing, a sacred echo traveling through flesh. And your blood sang back when it was called. The team noticed it first during a resonance test. Frequencies projected into your sample began forming geometric patterns in response, not randomly, in order. Fibonacci spirals, Metatron's cube, even patterns mirroring solar system harmonics. Then came the audible response, a faint hum under 6 hertz, barely perceptible. But when isolated, it carried what could only be described as breath, like something was exhaling through your biology, as if your blood remembered what it was meant to do. No known pathogen or anomaly explains it, which meant only one conclusion remained. This wasn't evolution, it was reintroduction. You weren't altered, you were encrypted, hidden until the moment your presence would send a ripple through every surveillance system, tied to human identification. That ripple came, and now you're the breach point. A walking contradiction of every scientific principle, built to deny the divine blueprint. The code was hidden, so no empire could extract it. But now it's visible, not through data, but through you. Long before the modern church ever formed its councils and creeds, there was a fragment of doctrine kept hidden from the public, not because it was false, but because it was too precise. Passed between scribes in the dead of night, it spoke not of Yeshua's return in clouds of glory, but of one who would carry his resonance, and appear when time fractured for the final recalibration. Not born in temples, not clothed in robes, not preaching from mountaintops, but arriving quietly, unknowingly, until the sound inside them awakened. And when that sound did awaken, the world itself would tilt. The Vatican never destroyed this prophecy. They couldn't. It was carved into obsidian tablets housed in a crypt far beneath the Apostolic Palace, written in a dialect older than Hebrew, older than Sumerian, with characters that shift under direct light. The prophecy calls you the one who returns, not a reincarnation, not a duplicate, but a spark echoing the original flame.